What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hive Prometheus. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. So it's a new year. I just finished up my GT this weekend with Simulation Swarm. I went 3-3, which was my expectation. But now that I'm rid of that, I thought people might be kind of doing a new year, new army. So I thought it might be helpful to have a primer on some of the list builds that are kind of popular right now based off the best units and things that are really efficient. And so today, starting off, the first one that's probably the most popular and the best one is Invasion Fleet. I want to give you a little bit more of a traditional build for lists that historically have done pretty well. And then I want to give you a little bit of a take on something that I would like to run over the weekend. I talked to a really cool guy on my GT who was running a Monster Mash invasion list using both the types of Norns. And I thought that looked kind of interesting for some play testing. So going into our first list here. More of our traditional invasion lists. We've got your walking Hive Tyrant. He does have the enhancement for adaptive biology that gives him a 5-up feel no pain. And then at the beginning of the phase, after he's already lost a single wound or more, he now has a 4-up feel no pain for the rest of the game. I think in Invasion Fleet, you can get away with having one melee weapon and one shooting weapon. So he does have the Lashwood Bone Sword. And the heavy venom cannon. It is D3 shots. However, with his own ability to give himself assault and lethals, I think he kind of wants to be moving around the battlefield with the other gun bugs in the list. We also have a base Neurotyrant. Her ability to give Neuraloids to 2 units within 18 to grant them Synapse, I think can be really good for the Gargoyles and the Gaunts, specifically for the Endless Swarm spawning ability that Invasion Fleet has. I think Gaunts in general, other than Endless Swarm, which is kind of unplayable right now, just because of the ability to bring back a full squad of 20 can only be used once per game. Swarm isn't really teched into that much right now. I think Endless Swarm is still kind of dead. It's not being played in any competitive circuits anywhere. Additionally, we have a base Broodlord. Some people like to put perfectly adapted on him so that he can reroll the charge with Gene Stealers. I think with his ability to scout and sort of as a missile that you can send out after enemies, or as a defensive piece of tech to protect some of your gun bugs. Either way, he's very flexible. He grants dev wounds to the Gene Stealers that he's attached to. He's going to be attached to the big squad of 10 here. The squad of 5 is just kind of a good skirmish unit for you to go about the field and go after if it's something like scouts or poxwalkers or something on an objective that they can easily deal with their 20 attacks. We have a squad of 10 Gargoyles. They are super fast. They're super good. Their maximum movement per turn is 24 inches if you get a 6-inch advance, because they move 12. They have assault. They can move that 6 inches. And then after they've resolved their shots after shooting, they can move an additional 6. So I think they're a super good piece to screen out melee armies that you would not be able to deal with if they were to flood forward to the middle of the board on first turn or 2. And the Hormagaunts' job specifically is more so to go and harass side objectives, steal primary, and then respawn in the command phase before you score primary, using that Endless Swarm ability. The Lictors here are here for the same purpose they would be in any other list. They are here to score. They're here to be on a board. They're here to be on a board edge to score you containment, or to be in different places so they can either score you behind enemy lines, engage on all fronts, recover assets, and potentially sabotage. In a lesser capacity, the Pyrovore can do that as well. And if he's within range of something, he can use his acid spray to strip cover, which would really be of benefit to the Exocrines here in the list. The Exocrines here in the list are kind of the bread and butter damage dealers. They're going to be hovering around the Hive Tyrant. They're going to get that 6-inch aura of lethals and assault so that they can advance and shoot. On GW terrain, it grants you just a couple extra inches, especially with the new pivot rule, because you have to subtract 2 inches from oval bases to pivot so that their guns can stick out across the base and still be able to fire. I do have one Maleceptor here. I think this is kind of the flex spot in the list. Some people are running Trigons, or maybe they're running Old One-Eye or something else. If you're not taking Carnifexes, I wouldn't necessarily take Old One-Eye in a traditional list, but it's a unit I like. It's got that 6-inch aura of -1 to hit, and its shooting is pretty good. It's similar to the Exocrines. It's strength 10 instead of strength 9, but it's AP 2. So specifically, I do think it needs the help of the Pyrovore in the list if it's going to get its full value of AP against anything. I think you really want to give them that full AP 2. And last but not least, I did say just Tyrannifex here, but specifically there's going to be the Tyrannifexes with the Rupture Cannons. There are most efficient anti-tank for the points. Some people could argue that zone throws do a similar job, but their range is half. It's 24 inches instead of the Tyranid 48. And for this meta, I think it's specifically going to be more hostile to us because there's a lot of armies that shoot further and harder. Specifically talking about like guard tank spam, Star Shatter Necrons, Ultramarines, Vanguard lists that have the Centurion Devastators. So I think the Tyranid and the Exocrines really are just kind of the bread and butter of classic invasion list, as well as the Hive Tyrants, the Neurotyrant, and the Gargoyles and Gaunts. The tech pieces and the flex pieces that you want to throw in, like the Gene Stealers or the Pyrovore, are kind of up to you. But in my opinion, I think this is the kind of list that if I said, hey, if you had a cookie cutter invasion list that I could run and I had whatever models at my disposal, I would run something like this. Alternatively, rolling over to the list that I'm kind of excited to play, I haven't played Invasion Fleet personally in over 14 months. Part of it is just me being a little bit of a nonconformist. The other part of me is just a novelty seeker, so I've been playing a lot of Crusher Stampede, Synaptic Nexus, and Assimilation Swarm. Here, I'm not necessarily teching into Battle Shock nearly as much. I'm just going with a base Hive Tyrant, no enhancement. I think I have an ability to hide him most of the time after playing as many games of Crusher Stampede as I have. And by the time that he needs to come out and do anything, it's turn 3 or 4 anyway, so I can afford to lose him if he is targeted. So I'm running him full melee in this. I still have the 2 Lictors as my action monkeys here. I do still have that Pyrovore, which I like to either reserve to come onto a board edge to get a secondary that I like, or to actually be within range to shoot something, because he moves 5 and his range is 12. So in theory, you could start him on the board, and you could probably advance him and get in range of something with the Hive Tyrant's Assault Aura, but I just haven't found a great success with it. In this list, we have 2 Exocrines, 2 Maleceptors, 2 Tyranid with Rupture Cannon. That's the bread and butter of this list, at least for the big bodies. And then the 2, I think, interesting flex spots. I've seen a lot of people who have run single or double Norn emissaries in Invasion. At the team event, there were a couple people who were using double Norns, kind of as that Tyranid stat check as a defender army. This is actually Gabe Perez's list, who went 5-1 at the GT here in Denver. It was the Denver Fight Club January Open. And I talked to him a little bit about his strategy here. He said he uses the Assimilator sort of in a similar way that other classic invasion lists use the Gene Stealer squad. He's declaring his singular purpose as the middle objective, so that if he does need to go to the middle, take out something, grab primary, and then live through a shooting phase, he gets his Feel No Pain on that objective. You don't have to use rapid regeneration in order to give him that Feel No Pain. You can relegate that to the Exocrines, the Maleceptors, the Hive Tyrant, and the Tyranid. Additionally, what he's using it for is he's going after tanks. He's using it as his living missile. After killing a unit, he's using the overrun stratagem to make a normal move of 6 inches so that he does not have to consolidate closer to an enemy unit or back to an objective. So he's using it to hide, which I think is a really interesting movement tech. I used the Norn Assimilator a little this weekend in Assimilation Swarm. I liked him. I just kind of ran into a lot of shooting lists who were able to deliver 24 to 30 wounds to him. On average, that's doing 12 to 15 damage to him through the 4 Feel No Pains mathematically, and I was finding a couple instances in which he could survive a turn, but I didn't really have the CP generation or sort of the cascading events to heal him multiple times a turn. I was really only getting about 1.5, maybe 2 heals at best in any of my 6 games. So I think in here, him just being a little bit more, as opposed to in Assimilation Swarm, you're relying on him to be the primary keeper. The Norn Emissary here, that's his job. You can use the Norn Assimilator a little bit more as a living missile. And the Maleceptors are kind of a similar thing. They want to go up into the fray and brawl. So I think a Maleceptor and a Norn Assimilator in your face can be a little bit more threatening. So that's the general idea. Again, the points are pretty flexible here, especially. I mean, some people wouldn't even use a Norn Assimilator. There's more than enough points to throw in 2 Haruspex as well. It's just 2 additional T11 bodies. They don't have an invuln, but being able to give them rapid regeneration really does make them defensively pretty tanky, and they have a bucket of attacks. So I'm going to try to make a few more of these bite-sized list building videos. I'm going to go through all of the classic Tyranid detachments. I'm not going to go through Gene Stealer's final day because I don't have a proficiency with Gene Stealer Cult to talk about that. If I do get the inspiration to do so, I might ask somebody on the Tyranid Discord to kind of give me the TLDR on that list, and maybe I can relay that, but I don't want to necessarily steal somebody else's work. So if this was helpful to you in any way, go ahead and give the video a like, share it with your friends. If you're a new player to Tyranids or you're a returning player, welcome back. It's a great time to be a bug. It's a fun time to experiment, especially in the next few months before we have our next point and rules update here in mid to late April. I hope this is helpful as a sort of reductive primer on how to play Invasion Fleet and how to field your bugs. And I just wanted to make something that would be a little helpful. So thanks for coming by, and I'll catch you next time on Hive Fleet Prometheus.